So it looks like the PPSH was stealth buffed in Warzone, I'm guessing by accident because the damage values are way higher than they were before the update. It was already a pretty decent gun, but this change makes it even more broken than the MAC-10 was when it had that broken blueprint. We'll get into the numbers. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you're brand new and want to find your way back, double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. And just a heads up, my Gfuel code is triple discounted all the way up until the 21st. So if you're looking to restock or try something new, use code JGOD in the checkout or linked near the top of the description. So let's get into the numbers. So this is basic testing you guys can do even yourself in the pregame lobby. When you start a lobby, you start with 0 damage in the pregame lobby, and then as you go through, you can get a hit marker. You can see I shoot the toe and I have it set to single fire. Especially with the rate of fire over 1,000, you're more than likely to fire a couple bullets off to ruin off your numbers. But here's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to go ahead and do that, and then we can measure that by looking at the damage. And right here you can see it says 28 on the screen. So we know that a toe shot, which is considered a lower limb damage, does 28, which is fine, right? And then we go ahead and go over here, and then we go ahead and shoot the shoulder, and then we do it again. 61 minus 28 gives us a damage profile of 33. And we can do the same thing for the head, and you do 106 minus 61 gives us 45 damage. You can do that for the lower limb again. You can do it for the regular thigh, which is considered the limb, or the arms. And then we have the stomach area, which goes from 94 to 61. And we basically do that and then plug it in a spreadsheet, and it figures out all the TTKs. Let's get into that. So here's a look at the different builds. We got recoil booster, the Kavaleskaya, and the Gorenko rounds, with the recoil booster ZAC 300 and the Gorenko rounds. And we're primarily focusing on this first damage profile, even though the second one kind of comes into play more often with this first build. We can see the RPMs close to 1,200 and right around 1,000. And the big difference here is these are the damage values I was able to test, which gives us to the overall shots to kill. And these TTKs are incredibly fast. More than likely, what you're going to end up with when you use this specific build is a TTK of 353, but that one's more of that hipfire build, uncontrollable recoil. The range is a little bit more in shotgun range, especially if you put in those Nambu rounds or whatever the case is, whereas this one's going to give you all the way up to about 11 meters, even up to 15, and the TTK is still very competitive up to 15, comparison to a lot of the other meta weapons in the SMG category within those ranges. And this one, you can see that the TTK is right around 419. But even if you're only shooting toes, you get a TTK of 479, which anything around 500 or less is super fast in Warzone. And most of the meta weapons have always been around 550, 600, around that range, and with a couple headshots in the mix, maybe you get 500 on occasion. But 479 and 419 is completely broken, and there's almost no reason to not run this gun in the current state, at least until they fix it. And just to give you a comparison of how big a difference this was for the PPSH, if we go down here, we can look at the old value versus the new value, and you can see the headshot used to be 34, the neck used to be 25, chest was 24, 23, 22, 21. And these are huge leaps because look at the shots to kill. It used to be 10, 11, 12 shots to kill. We're talking about 7, 8 in there when you get some neck shots in there. So this is going to completely change how these weapons are used. And this is probably the only weapon you should be using for close range, because if you're not, you are going to get outgunned by anyone using this build. And let's go ahead and talk about the build. So to start this off, we're going to go with the recoil booster for obvious reasons. We want the extra rate of fire, but this TTK is broken enough where you could probably go with a suppressor and you would be fine and you still stay off the minimap. But the faster TTK, really, you're just looking for the most broken TTK possible to win those gunfights. And in situations where you feel like, damn, I should not have won that, you're still going to be able to win some of those, especially if people are using floor loot or another meta option in the game. Then we got the ZAC 300. I think the overall bullet velocity recoil control makes it so it's a little bit more viable beyond that first shotgun range where the gun gets out of control. The ADS more is a little bit more practical versus the hipfire build. It's fun and gimmicky, but I think this is generally the way to go for consistency purposes. And then we got slate reflector, especially since we're going to be keeping it medium range and shorter. You can run it maybe even as sniper support. I prefer an optic versus the iron sights because of those engagements, especially if you're trying to take somebody off a heady, makes it a little bit easier when you have that clean sight picture. Then for the stocks, I either go with the skeletal or the remove stock. Preference really at the end of the day on those two. And then I got tight grip because it helps with hip fire. recoil as well as the overall recoil, which obviously since we're going to be using this short intermediate range, it's going to be a little bit more of a beam with the tight grip on. Then we got quick for the faster sprint speed. Fabric grip, which is going to help with aim down sight and hip fire, because obviously even though when you get in close range, you still start with the hip fire, which sprint to fire speed also helps to get those first shots off. And then while you're aiming down sight, hopefully you've landed a couple shots because of the better hip fire, better sprint to fire, and the aim down sight you're getting in so you can be as accurate as possible. For the mag, I generally go with the Gorenko because the Nambu comes with negative bullet velocity and range, which make the gun a little bit less viable, especially at those intermediate ranges. You kind of got to be more within shotgun range, which is still fun and gimmicky if you're in a hip fire build. But in general, I think the Gorenko is a little bit more versatile, and that's probably the way you'd go. And then when it comes to ammunition, a hollow point kind of ties it together with that limb damage to kind of tie that in. But you could go lengthen if you just want a little bit better bullet velocity and you plan to mostly hit the torso, whether it's upper or lower or neck or head, just not limbs. Lengthen is still a very good option for that bullet velocity. And then the skeletal stock or something that's going to help with the recoil, either the hand stop or we can go with the Carver foregrip. Again, that comes down to preference. So go ahead and try it for yourself. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.